Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Excel TV. We got a lot going on this week. Hey Jordan, it's been a while since we've been on camera together. How you doing, brother? Where you at?
I am doing great. I'm here in Brooklyn, New York, and I am excited for our guest Randy. Randy, how are you?
Hi, how you doing? Great to see you be here. Great to be here. So happy to see both of you. Talk to both of you finally. I've known you for many years on your channel.
So Randy, where are you at this week?
I'm actually in Vietnam. I live in Vietnam. So I've been here for 5 years now. So all the way from Southeast Asia.
All right. So everybody, this is Rick Grantham, Excel.tv, coming to you with Coors Light this week. I'm out here in California, and in California, they're not very good with having Miller Lite, which is kind of my special thing. But so this week is brought to you by Coors Light, the number 3, and freelancing. So we're talking a lot about that this week. So hey, Randy.
Yes, great to be here. Randy from Excel for Freelancing.
Freelancing. Yeah. So tell me about, first off, how you started out in Excel and kind of your journey. And then I kind of want to get into building a business and how you got to that. But first off, would you mind giving a little bit of background? Talk about your website a little bit, and then talk about how you kind of got started in Excel.
No problem. Well, I started Excel for Freelancers about 2.5 years ago. But even before that, I got my feet wet in business way back in 1995. I started my first business. It was a construction business, and I ran that for about 10 years. And so I learned on the job about all sorts of business aspects, whether it's finances or working with employees or just about payroll and every type of aspect for running business, even sales and marketing. And also, at that point, I realized how powerful Excel could be. I didn't really have much experience. I certainly didn't know any VBA at that point, but I did realize how important it was for business. And then in 2004, I sold the business and decided to travel the world. And at that point, I had a good background in business. I had a good background in Excel as well, using it. And I realized I could combine those two. And since I love to travel and I love to be free, I was able to use those two skills, Excel and business, to create a relatively decent freelancing career where I do freelancing for over 10 years. I did lots of freelancing for various customers around the world using Excel and finding solutions to their problems through businesses throughout the world. And then in about 2015 or 2014, I realized that there was kind of a freelancing trap where it was a month-to-month, job-to-job, in a basically payment to payment. And it was a comfortable living, but I was really never able to get ahead. And so at that point, I decided that because of my experience in business, I released a product. It was like a financing product, like a labor burden calculator. It kind of calculated the costs of the actual hour employee based on all the types of employer expenses, whether it was taxes or benefits or different types of company expenses. And I found this application really solved the problem. And I was able to then take this and put it into a product that could be sold. And I realized quickly that this was the future because I was able to stop trading time for money and actually sell a product while I was sleeping or while I was on vacation. And that was kind of an aha moment. And then I realized that if I could take these techniques and teach them to other people so that they could get out of the freelance trap. And so in 2017, I started Excel for Freelancers. And that was really the purpose to not only share some ideas of Excel, but my unique perspective on Excel and how I felt Excel could actually solve problems. Obviously, it does that, but how you could create applications and not just do great jobs and create great products, but further and get out of the freelance trap by creating marketable products. And so I wanted to bring that to the Excel community along with my unique take on Excel. I kind of think of Excel not necessarily as a spreadsheet, but a blank canvas where we create our art and solve problems and create solutions for companies.
Yeah, you're making George smile.
That's what brings us up to today.
I actually started out and starting my second business, but my first Excel business, before Jordan and I met, had a small business champion bundle, and basically it was creating small business templates. It was creating business templates for small business owners, and although it wasn't hugely profitable, you know what? Had I continued to build marketable products after marketable products, had Excel TV not come along, it probably would have done pretty well as it continued to build on itself. So as you continue to build products over and over, it's amazing, especially once you start creating YouTube videos and you start having traffic coming from that. And again, you have a big YouTube presence. As you start having traffic come from that to your website, and you're just explaining what the template does, you're explaining what the product does, and people are like, okay, well, I was looking for that anyway. That's a pretty good thing.
Exactly. There's really, two types of the solutions that I create. I try to create at least minimal viable products on my YouTube. So each and every week, I create a new product, whether it's like an employee manager or whether it's like a contact manager, or last week we created a small point of sale application. So I try to create these mini applications. And there's only like two types of people that will come and watch. There are people that simply just want the template and they download it, and they can download it using their email address to their Facebook Messenger, and it gets sent to them automatically. Or the people that really want to learn the process of making those applications, then I take them through the process. And my training videos tend to be long. They're anywhere from 1 hour to 90 minutes. The last few were 90 minutes. So the shortest one's probably 40 minutes that I've done. So they're all really long. They're all comprehensive training. And generally because they're solving complex problems. And so I bring a lot. I invest a lot into these videos. I spend generally a day on the application beforehand, and then I spend another day, whether it's recreating it during the video and then editing the video and then scheduling and releasing the video. And I do this every week consistently for 2.5 years now.
Great. So I have one more question. I'm going to pass it over to Jordan. Sure. Jordan. So one more question. So just around creating templates and creating business solutions and et cetera. So whenever I was first doing this with my small business champion bundle, which is now available over the Excel TV Academy, when I was first doing that, I had to figure out. So first off, it was maybe for me about a 15 to 20 minute or so video. I had to explain it, but I didn't necessarily give the templates down for free. I'm asking this for other freelancers. What was your business strategy? Because my business strategy at the time was, okay, the YouTube videos are out there that teaches you, okay, why this certain type of invoice or this certain type of sales forecast is important, et cetera, for your small business. And by the way, if you want to get part of this as a bundle, go back to my website. What was your business strategy? Because mine was, okay, the videos were free, but you go pay for it at my website. How was your business strategy different?
Well, that's a great question, and basically it's the top of the funnel. So in the top of the funnel, we use our YouTube or Facebook to create the videos, and if people watch them, great. But obviously, one, I want them to be able to get something, and of course, I'm using it as the lead magnet. So I'm using these free products in exchange for whether it's their Facebook, we use automated Facebook chat, or whether it's their email address that they can download. So that's the exchange. They get the template and I get their email address. And then what I do is, one, I not only send with their email address, I not only send them these weekly videos and workbooks in the future, but I also make offers, whether it's my dashboard course or whether it's my mentorship course, or I also have a pack of 100. So it's kind of a little bit of pain. They have to enter their name and email for each template they want. But if they want 100 pack of them, they can also purchase that for just like $37. So it's like a tripwire, so that they can, and I've had lots and lots of people, hundreds and hundreds of people make purchases because they don't want to download. So it's worked out really well. Early on, sure, it's slow to build. And I think I didn't earn a single dollar from Excel for Freelancers for a year until my course, my dashboard course was available. But once it was great because people already had that know, like, and trust factor. And I think those are really critical before you're going to sell anything. In fact, at that point, there are people, a small percentage, but there are people that would buy it because they trust me and they know that I will deliver value. So I think that's really important, developing those three factors.
So is there anything particular about the Excel consumer, or at least the consumers that you deal with, that would make them different? Or is there anything you could tell us about them that, I'm trying to think how to ask this question, that might make them different, because you said you were a general contractor. What is the type of customer that you're supporting right now?
Well, I think that's a great question. And that's something that I really work on. In fact, when we have products, when we have sales funnels, the first thing we want to do is we want to find out who. And if we don't ask that question, in other words, the who comes before the what. I service Excel freelancers who generally have a very high knowledge of Excel and want to get into VBA. It's very, very vertical. It's very, very specific. And when we use a vertical market, a very specific, a very tight market, we can then expand it vertically. So beginners, I don't have any beginning Excel courses. All of my courses use a high end of VBA. So it's very specific. So for that reason, I'm able to tailor a very specific products for only those people. And I think that many mistakes people make is they think Excel is a platform. Well, anybody who likes Excel, well, that's just too large of a platform. And for too many years, I did that. And I tried to be good at everything. But the problem we get into is when we try to be good at everything, we're great at nothing.
Right.
So I decided, okay, I want to be the best Excel application developer in the world. And hopefully I'll get there one day, but that's what I want to be. I'm not going to do pivot tables. I'm not going to do Power Query. I'm not going to do Power. I don't know anything about those things.
Man.
And it was hard because when somebody says to you, hey, what about this? Being able to say no is more important than being able to say yes. That's not me. I don't do that. And that's very hard for a freelancer, very, very hard when you're living paycheck to paycheck or you're living job to job to be able to say no. And I couldn't say no for many years.
It definitely is hard.
Yeah. Your ability to say no allows you to be great, excellent at something. And when you're great at something, people will pay a very high dollar to learn what you know.
And you know, that's
go ahead.
I just want to say this because that's very interesting, because this is something that I think that I internally struggle with, and certainly something Rick and I have talked about a lot in servicing our audience, because, you know, I've been the VBA person. I've been the like advanced Excel person. And here in New York City, I've taught a few like more beginner level classes just to kind of work with other training providers. And everyone seems to like that training, but I could never come up with that material myself because I'm just not that interested in it. It's a lot easier if it's been handed to me. And so if someone, you know, says, do you want to do beginner level material? I've been trying to negotiate this thing so I don't have to build it myself. But I think that it's very inspiring to hear you say that, because I thought to myself for many years that niche of just VBA interested people was very small and it wasn't worth going after. And
it's massive.
You know, I think that, you know, and we'll talk about this with the Global Excel Summit, that I sort of suffered from what I think many people who start out, they really just look at their own communities and look at their own spaces. And we're not, you know, we live in this world that's so connected that we don't realize how big, how enormous the market really is. Then maybe 30 years ago, it wasn't, you know, and maybe just because we didn't have that sort of reach. So that's really interesting. And so I think it's really good to hear you say all that. I do want to ask this one question, a little off before we bring it back, but is there any application that you think should not be made in Excel? Because sometimes people ask me to make this stuff and I think to myself, there's so many better technologies right now, but here you are out making like a point of sale technology in Excel, and clearly people are liking it. So,
right. And again, it always comes back to who are you servicing. If your customer is one customer and your customer says, I want the best application in the world, I don't care what you use, then Excel may not be the best. You know, there may be but if your customer is people around the world and they have very minimal skills, if your customers are based, you know, and they don't want to use add-ons, they don't want to use third-party tools, they want to use something simple, then Excel is a great solution for that. So it always goes down to who. This is when best may not be better. It may be the best application that you can build, but that's what, as freelancers, that's the problem we always have. We always want to build the best. And we have to always ask ourselves, who are we building this for? Always. Who always comes before what? And I think that's one of the problems we come into. And so did I answer your question? So we want to make sure that if it's a single customer and they don't care what platform or what, you know, then great, then build the best thing you can with any tools that are there. But when your customers are all over the world, or they're using, or they don't have the technical experiences to use third-party apps and tools, or they have to do too much, then yes, then we have to limit it to just things. And so that's when, because we want to build an application that's best for our customer, not necessarily best, not the best application that we can build, best for the customer.
So you recently had a very big milestone, right? And I saw the video a little bit earlier this week. To where you had 100,000 YouTube followers. And there are plenty of people who are doing freelance or trying to build their own channels and build their own business. Would you mind chatting a bit about that, like what your strategy was and how you would like what you might say to people who are just starting out on how they might build a following like that.
Wow. Yeah, it's great. We just reached 100,000 YouTube subscribers. And also 2 weeks ago, we got to 25,000 members in our Excel for Freelancers Facebook group. So we had a few milestones there.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so it's been really amazing. The community around it's been great. And what I always tell people is, one, find your niche, aim to be great at that, learn to say no. You know, I've had thousands of questions. Can you teach a basic Excel VBA course? No, it's not me. I probably wouldn't do a very good job. Plus, there's amazing people that do great job. So find your niche and stick to it, as hard as it is. And so once you find that, just be the best at something. Be fantastic at one little thing. You know, when you can do that, people will follow. And don't worry about how narrow that market is. This is we're in a global economy. We're in a gig economy with social media, Twitter, and all YouTube. You know, your customers are all over the world. We don't have to think small in our communities or in our countries or in our states. It's now a global economy. So the market is massive. And with something like Excel is actually far more popular in countries like Vietnam and countries like India, far more than it is in the US, actually. So there are massive communities that are built around Excel. So the platform itself is massive. There's plenty of people. So if you're starting out, I would say pick something and be the best at it, whether it's pivot tables or Power Query, pick one thing. Once you're great at that, once you're the best, then you can start to expand. But it's always good to choose a vertical market, choose a niche, and make sure you're the best and learn as much as you can. And I'm still pushing myself, you know, as I create this accounting application inside our mentorship. I'm still trying to figure out new techniques and techniques like to be able to share and sync your macro-enabled workbook around the world with anybody using a Dropbox or Google Drive or Microsoft OneDrive shared folder. You know, things like that are really helpful to the community. So focusing on problems, find a problem that's global, and find your niche, and then just go after it. And don't get tempted just to try to do too much and try to do everything. That would be
a statement. I'll push this over to Jordan. So we had a similar statement actually from the leader of ExcelJet.net, who said, so we're talking about finally starting to do courses, et cetera. So whenever we were first figuring this out a few years ago, and we interviewed him, and he said that his least successful course, because what he started out with was beginners for, as he said, everybody thinks that they know beginning Excel. If they're going on a website trying to figure it out. So it's interesting that finding your vertical, finding the thing that's best for you, what people are going to you for is the best thing to do.
Yeah.
And you know, I think I've been like part of these YouTube groups, and over the last year, as you know, we've been sort of testing new things out at Excel TV, trying to do different types of like content. I think that, you know, I like your advice to go out and be good at it. And I just want to remind our viewers too that, you know, as much as like, obviously I want to celebrate your numbers at 100,000, 25,000. If your niche is, let's say, 3,000 people, like that's okay too. And having those 3,000 loyal fans, or even if it's less than that, you know, being able to serve that community it really is something remarkable. Though I think that at the end of the day, what I always tell people when they ask like how to grow YouTube, because I'm very proud of where our YouTube has grown and over the years. It's just to put out quality stuff, put out stuff that's authentically to you that you enjoy doing. And it sounds like that you really do enjoy building these different applications and look forward to the challenge of like, what can I do this week?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Every week is different. And, you know, some of them really surprised me. And I realized, you know, early on, so I've kind of had an aha moment the past month or month and a half. And that was like people, you know, originally I thought, okay, the video's got to be perfect. I'm going to create the application before, and then I'm going to walk people through it. Mm-hmm. And that's nice. And people like it and people appreciate that. But what they really want to do is they want to watch me build it. And so I'll create it before, and then I'll recreate it during the video. And that means bugs, and that means mistakes, and that means, but I think it's real and it's human. And if you don't have any bugs, and people say, oh, you had a bug, how's he going to find it? How's he going to fix it? Where does he look? You know, oh, I misspelled this. Oh, I made the same bug too. So it's like a real life scenario, and they want to see how you solve these problems, how you get around it, what goes into your thinking. Why did you put this there? Why did you put it there? So as I'm building these, I'm talking people through it in my thought process. And it took a while to get some confidence enough to do it live, to build these applications live. And they also take a long time, anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half. Last one was an hour and 45 minutes. But we start out with a blank sheet and we go through the entire process. And I think people really appreciate that even though there's a few missteps and a few issues, and a lot of times I'll finish it and there'll be an issue with the application, maybe a small issue, but they can always download the application. Mm-hmm. But so they're imperfect, but they're a lot better than the perfect ones where I just show people what I did. And I think I learned a lot about that.
Can I say that I've literally noticed the same thing? So like, at the start of the year and last year, I was like editing these videos. But then we've done some raw, what I would call the Jordan raw and uncut videos where I've just re-recorded things. And those have done really well. And on top of that, one other thing I've noticed is that like in the courses I've taught in New York, is that I've gotten a dry erase board. And so when I explain stuff, I've started to use, like I explained VLOOKUP, and in the first parameter, I'll just draw a magnifying glass. I'm like, it's always the lookup value, and then I'll draw a table. And so it's become very visual the way I teach, and people are loving it. And I'm just thinking, oh my God, I need to buy one of those tablets and start doing this on YouTube and just turn the camera on and just flow like I do, that people like it rather than just worrying about editing. This may be, this really may be one of the few places, like this Excel space, at least right now, where you don't have to look like some of this, like you don't have to look like the Joe Rogan show, but you can actually be scrappy and people really like it, because I've literally learned this over the last few months too. So it's interesting. It's great to hear you say that, because it's such confirmation that I think about, because also I hate editing. I mean, Rick does a lot of the editing too. So
I don't think any of us like it. I think I don't like it. But I have to do it, and it takes me generally twice as long. So if I record for 90 minutes, it's a 3-hour editing process. So because I stopped it, but still, you're going to see lots of typos when I'm typing code. I type. I'm not a great typer, so you're going to see it. But the point of sale video that I launched 10 days ago now has 100,000 views in just 10 days. So I realized, okay, and a lot of people said, don't do long videos, don't do this, follow your instinct. I'm like, I'm going to create this solution. If it takes 3 hours, if it takes 1 hour, I'm going to create it. And so it's worked so far. So the last video was like an hour and 45 minutes, but it was, I created a comprehensive solution. It's not something you can do fast, and I'll do it as fast as I can, but people want solutions. Most people say, I never realized Excel could do this.
Right.
And even myself, I surprised myself. I'm like, okay, let's do it. So my ideas often come way outside of Excel. In fact, Excel is generally the last thing I think of. So I'm looking everywhere. When I go into a restaurant, I'll look at the computer. When I go into a hotel, I look at the computer to see what they're using. When I'm into a store buying something, I'm looking to see what they're using. So I'm always thinking, how can I use this in Excel? So Excel becomes the afterthought. People say you can't really sit down in Excel and say, what am I going to create? So my ideas come from everywhere else. Then when I want to figure out, okay, so now how can I do that in Excel? So I already have the idea in mind before I ever look at Excel.
We first ran into that in our business, and myself and Jordan's business, whenever we talked to Daniel Stein Fairhurst, right? Mm-hmm. And we were trying to, in my mind, Excel TV, we need to have more polish. We need to have, we need to that was just where my head was at as a business owner at the time, right? We need more higher editing and all that kind of stuff. And Danielle said, I don't think that's really what your audience wants from you.
Right.
They just want frank conversations, just flowing, and somebody showing a tip, and you guys just figuring it out, and just talking with it. And I think about Alex from It's Not About the Sell, right? And what he does is largely just jump on Facebook, turn on the camera, and say, I'm about to build this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's been wildly successful. So yeah, we've had to kind of figure out our business. There's the YouTube part of it, which is the interviews, et cetera, which is similar to this, where we're just kind of you just flow, right? Yeah. And there's the other part where, okay, you're doing a training video, which is a little bit different, it's a little bit more compartmentalized.
It's true. And you know, like there's a lot, I think a lot of developers out there do like to flow. And I had to learn in building my training videos, like, because we have our online training platform, not to do that. But I still do. I basically what I've learned, and I'll be talking about this at the Global Excel Summit, is that if you are a certain way, if you try to be the opposite, you know, usually you're out of spiritual alignment, but you will learn a lot about like things that maybe you were too scared of doing that you thought you couldn't do, but actually you can. And you can fuse it together. And I think what's most interesting about my trainings is that not the online training, but like the in-person component, is that a lot of it is kind of me flowing. Like I have the thing, I have what we're going to build, I show them the final product, and then we step through it together as a class. And so there's a few people, often older folks, who were a little more apprehensive because they're used to the more like New Horizons type training where it's like, here's the step by step. But eventually, once you break the ice, everyone seems to really enjoy it. And so I think that like that Excel and probably a few other things in coding like are ones that you can turn on and actually break some of those YouTube rules. And so having that commentary being said, I wanted to ask you, because look, we're community people, we like to share. How can someone who is an Excel freelancer use social media, but maybe they don't like want to be a community person like you? You know, what can they do to help their business anyway?
Well, I think the best thing is, one, to know your audience, right? We always say provide value, provide value. We've heard it a million times. But if you don't know, again, we're going to go back to who. I always go back to who. If you don't know who your audience is, how can you provide value? You know, how can you give your audience something that they want if you don't know who your audience? So the first thing to do is write out, who do you want to serve? And once you know who, it's like, what are their dreams? What are their aspirations? What are their fears? What are their challenges? What are their problems? Write it all down. The solution will come out of that. Understand? So instead of just creating a solution and saying, okay, here's my solution, put it out there, decide who first, right? Once you know who, then you can go after, then you have a very clear, very specific target market that you can go after. And not only that, but you can build solutions. So when you come up with a solution, all you have to do is look back at your list and say, does this help my target market get to their dreams, get to their goals? Does this, do I touch on their fears? Do I touch on the problems? Do I help them overcome their challenges? Does this solution? So you match up the solution with your target audience. And once you have that congruence, you know that you can go ahead and forward it. And the other tip that I can offer you is, once you decide it, make sure you're consistent. For example, every single Tuesday at 6:15 p.m. On my time zone, GMT +7, I release a brand new training video. And I've done that every single week consistently for 2.5 years, regardless. And
good for you.
So I have no boss. I have nobody telling me, you know, that it must be, but I've decided and committed to it. And so that consistency is something that I think lacks in the industry and for most people. And so having the consistency, and it's really important if you want to market something, if you have offers, and obviously we all need to market, we all need to live, and we all need money. But the first thing you want to do is develop consistency. And people want to be able to know you, they need to like you, and they need to trust you. So having that kind of consistency really, really helps. And so, you know, we share our videos in several groups, and we make sure that we have a very consistent plan. And I started this from day one. And it doesn't mean that you can't try things and not work, but your core should be consistency. So I really, really go after that. So if you have a social media plan, stay consistent and know your audience. So those are my best tips.
So Randy, would you mind talking a little bit about the Global Excel Summit, which both of you will be speaking at? I know you're the ambassador. Jordan's speaking. I'll be there doing interviews and whatnot. Would you mind talking a little bit and giving our audience an idea of what that is and how you got involved?
Sure. Actually, it was several months ago, probably more than 6 months ago, where I got contacted by Tia Kusavu, and from LinkedIn, and she just sent me a message, said, hey, Randy, I do events and I really love Excel, and I've seen your YouTube channel and I think it's amazing, the solutions. I was thinking about having some kind of a conference or an event around Excel, and I would love to know if you'd like to partner with us and maybe create a really good event. And I liked the idea, and I've had a few offers before of doing events. And I said, but if it's something that we're going to do, it needs to be different. It can't just be Excel. We need to create solutions and have solutions, and people talk about things that they don't generally talk about. Right. And I really, you know, my standpoint is there's too many poor experts. We all know our code. We all know our job, but why can't we? Why isn't there not more success in the industry? Why are there so many struggling experts? And I expressed this concern with her, and I said, if we can address that with the speakers, and we can have all the speakers, but we want to know what the story is behind their success. We don't want to have an event where we can teach something where they can go on Google and look it up. So I want to bring something different, and I want to bring people from around the world and share their stories of their success and their marketing and how and their uniqueness. So that was my idea, is to bring this event and bring something special and different. And she really liked the idea, and we just kind of ran with it from there. And then it just started growing, and now it's amazing. It's going to be an incredible event. I'm really looking forward to it.
Great. So Jordan, would you mind kind of jumping in and talking a little bit about your presentation?
Sure. So, mine is really all about whether you want to start a business, whether you are in a business, like you're an employee. How do you make a name for yourself in Excel? What are the things that you can do? And this really comes from. If I'm just going to try to summarize it all, I'm just trying to distill like the last 10 years of my life into a 50-minute talk to just explain to people, look, here are all the mistakes I made. Here's what I learned. So like if you're at a job and, I hear this so much when because I do talks for TDWI that are just they're not Excel talks. They're like just data talks, and people come up afterward and they go, well, how do you convince your boss to use the correct data visualization? And, I'm like, well, show them alternatives, put them side by side. What they want and what you want, and be okay with losing the argument, but like making your case and being the person in your like job who fights like, or not, it doesn't have to be aggressive, but advocates for it. And that's how you create this attractive energy that people start coming to you and asking you questions. So things like that. And then we're going to talk about like how to become an Excel MVP, my experience with that. As many know, I actually had lost it. And then recently, as of Sunday, I became an MVP again. So having gotten it, and I started out nominating myself, and then having gone from there to actually having lost it and thought about it.
My first interview with you before Excel TV, when I was still doing the templates, I was still trying to like be relevant in the industry, and I said, "So how'd you get your Excel MVP? Who nominated you?" So I nominated myself. I was like,
I wanted it.
I was like, that's a thing? I didn't even know that was a thing.
Like for me, my career has been all about like finding the ways in. I hate using this term, like, people might say you're hacking a system. But really it's just more like, as Randy, you don't have a boss. You've had to you have to think about these problems differently, right? You have to go around these systems, because if you just follow the systems as they're designed, they become limiting thoughts. No one ever thought to themselves, I shouldn't say no one, but a lot of people think, well, I can't nominate myself. How does that look? And in truth, they don't care. Like, you can't nominate. They changed the MVP process, but they never cared. They just wanted to know your output. And in fact, when we had Carrie Finn on, who's our second, that was our second episode. She said, we love when people nominate themselves. And so many people just didn't think to do that. So
like MVP ambassador for Microsoft, right? Whatever the term is.
Yeah, she was the
former. I better do that.
Yep.
Yeah, do it,
bro. But
I've had others nominate me. So.
And so, and just talk about that. So also, I think a lot of people think MVP. A lot, like you said, there's poor experts, and a lot of them are experts, and they think, oh, we're going to get the MVP award, or I'm going to do this. I'm going to go on Udemy. And therefore I'm going to make it. And there's so much more that goes into it than that. So just trying to give them the confidence to bite off this bigger piece, and not to really think about in on the one sense, it's all about design. But on the other hand, when you come in and thinking, oh, I'm going to get an MVP, therefore it's going to work, or I'm going to just jump on Elance and satisfy a few clients, there's so much to learn, and just being open to that learning. And hopefully, if everyone gets their mind open and free, might start out by saying, let's just be very flexible in our thoughts. They'll see that actually they could learn a lot from the mistakes that I've made. And that's what I'm hoping, that they can actually, maybe they'll even go farther and I can learn from them. So that's kind of the big hope.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's really important, especially breaking the norms. I mean, if you look at my my creations, my software or my art, you think that's not Excel. Or I've even had people tell me that's not what Excel is designed for. You shouldn't do that, or your videos are too long. And one thing is we have to develop thick skin and go after it. You know, that you're never going to please everybody. And some people, you know, or they get detracted because they one person said that doesn't look good, or they have a better way. Or I used to think early on, well, in fact, you know, I bought my microphone 2 years before I ever recorded a video because I just didn't have the confidence to actually make one. You know, I didn't think I was ready. And then at one point I just got to a certain low in my life where I'm like, you know what, I'm not creating anything. I haven't created anything. I'm going to do it no matter what. So I just I got to this point where I said, things need to change and I'm going to do it no matter what. And early on, it's like, oh, well, what if somebody finds a better way? I'm supposed to be the expert making YouTube videos, but what if somebody suggests? So I had to get over that and realize, you know, and now when people show me a better way, I mean, I say, thanks so much. You know, I'm adapting, I'm learning just like you. So it takes a certain amount of humility and humbleness. And being an expert means you're learning every single day. And that's what it's for. And I learn every single day. So I think it's really important to be able to take risks, take chances. And then when people share with you better ideas, or when you learn better ideas, I mean, I look at my code 2 years ago or 5 years ago, it's horrendous, but we got to start somewhere, and we can't let that stop us. And many people do. So I hope to share them and give them the confidence that they can, and that they should try no matter what.
Yeah, so a few points, and we'll move on to the tips part of the section of the show. But you know, here's the thing. Our most popular video on Excel TV, our YouTube channel, is how to do Monte Carlo simulation in Excel. It's very focused, right? It's very narrow, to your point.
Right.
But at the same time, we got a comment just last week where a guy was like, dude, you're all over the place. Like, nobody could follow you, like whatever. I'm like, dude, that's where we make all our money. So
yeah,
everybody loves it but you. So you're right. You have to have thick skin. And
Layla said something really important to me 2 years ago, which was, if I thought about doing something as much as you do, Jordan, I wouldn't do it. And her stuff is really well thought out. You know what I mean? It's really well done. And it just occurred to me that my niche is not her niche, and that I shouldn't be trying to make her type of videos. That I should just be.
Yeah, I couldn't either. We got to be us, right?
It's true.
Right. And, you know, you look at it and it's part of having that confidence, and you look at other people, and I think it's a good idea to look at what other people are doing and knowing, but staying confident, maybe taking a few things away, but staying in your lane, but being the best at it you can. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to be the one. I mean, my videos are decent quality. The voice has to be good quality, but you're not going to see tons of graphics, and you're not going to see tons of things. I'm going to focus on just content, right? And you're not going to have sounds going back and forth. And that's my lane, you know? So, and I don't need to do that. But what I want to do is create great solutions. And another point you touched on is many times I'll create something. I don't give myself the time to make things perfect, because I have, you know, a tight schedule. Every different day of the week, I'm doing something else. And so, you know, Friday morning is the time that I think of what the next YouTube video is. And by Friday night, I need to have completed that application. By Saturday morning, I'm recording that video and editing it and putting it out, scheduling for Tuesday. So I don't have the time to think, should I, you know what I'm saying? I don't give myself the time. And I think if you ever struggle with that, that's where you set up a schedule. And it's a must. And it's like kind of like don't break the chain method, you know, from an old Seinfeld episode, where once you develop that chain, you just do, you know, and then you don't give yourself the time to rethink it over and over again.
Yes, I do know that feeling. And, you know, I think for me personally, because I love writing and I'm a writer, and I've published on, you know, different things on Medium. I wrote 2 books. And I'm actually, interestingly enough, I'm talking to a big publisher about a 3rd book now on data. So that'll be very cool. But one thing that I've realized in all this is that I can just crank out text and I can do it very quickly. But my stuff has typos in it, and I can go through it, I can reread it, and I will miss things. I'm
sure.
I'm going to be 35 this year, and I just have to accept that I miss words. I mess up you know, everyone thinks of me as this writer, and like. And over the years, people have said things to me, family, who've said like, oh, well, you don't want people to think you look dumb or any of that. And, you know, my stuff's been around for a long time. And there are people who pick it apart and say, oh, I want you to know about a typo, or I want you to know about this. And my deal is, once it's out there, I don't fix it. Like
Yeah.
I've proofreaded it. It's out there.
Yeah, quick story. Then we're going to move on to the tips. But it was
I know
just
the story.
a few, yeah, you know what's coming. So a few episodes ago, we were talking to Alex from It's Not About the Sell, and we're telling a story from a few years before where Alex, we had an episode. It was all about how do you become an Excel MVP. And it was a very like the second episode we ever had with Carrie
Mhm.
Finn, referred to earlier. And here's how you become an Excel MVP. And there were some typos on Jordan's page, and he reached out. Alex did, and said, "Wow, there's this Excel MVP who has typos on his page. Maybe I should inform him." And Jordan was like, "I don't give a
Don't
fuck.
care.
I don't give a
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You wrote me and I wrote, don't
I
care.
mean, and that's one of the that's a great question, because that's one of the things, especially doing these like live videos where I'm creating these applications. The last video, the point of sale, or the last one, I realized I got a typo, and I'm staring at this typo while I'm editing it for 60 minutes, right? And it's like, and now thousands of people are going to look, but you know what I'm saying? You just gotta accept it. And that's one of the, but it's really, really important, because you cannot wait for it to be perfect. And I think that's where a lot of people get stopped. Oh, but what if this? What if this? My videos aren't perfect, and nothing we put out is going to be perfect, but you do it anyways, and whatever it is, and you learn, you grow, and you move on. It's never going to be perfect. And if we try to make things perfect, it's going to be an extreme barrier to prevent us from reaching our goals or our dreams. And so we say imperfect perfection. So we just have to do our best and put it out there and move on to the next one.
So Jordan, I'm going to move this over to you at the Excel tips section, and then I'll move it over to Randy. So if you wouldn't mind sharing your screen and showing us something awesome.
No problem at all. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen. You should see my Excel screen. So in typical form, I have nothing laid out. I'm going to actually just kind of do this in my own way.
In Randy format. Just kind of,
yeah, exactly.
but I have to say,
hour and a half.
I've been doing it like this way too. So like Randy, you're speaking to me. Okay, so I just want to type in a basic formula here. It doesn't really matter what I type in. We're gonna just do if A is greater than, I did that so quickly. We're gonna do it if A1 is greater than B1, right? So it doesn't really matter what I put in here. I just want to create. I just want to create a formula. What I want to actually show you here is not that, but rather this specific formula right here called formula text. And what this does is actually it writes out the formula when there's a formula in the cell. It used to be in old Excel, what we would have to do is you'd have to do this apostrophe, which is just like a comment. If anyone does any VBA, you would know that it functions the same way in the cell. And then we would take this, we'd copy it, and we'd paste it. And so if you ever end up teaching Excel, and I teach a lot of Excel, and I end up using this formula text a lot, because what was happening is they would say, well, go click on that cell because I want to see the formula again. So I was using formula text, and I just did it once, and everyone went, wait, what was that? What was that?
Yeah.
What is that? And it's because they had never seen that before. And clearly they would want to use that on their own sheets, maybe not for something in production. So formula text, if you're not using it, it's one of the great things to use just to make sure you remember what you did. And also when you need to show your work to someone else, but you want to move on and you want to say, hey, what did this formula do? It's a great feature. I think it was added in 2013.
Nice. I like it. All
right. So let me stop sharing. And then, all right, looks like you can see my camera.
Yep.
All right, Randy, I'm going to throw it over to you.
All right, great. Well, my tip actually is going to be, let me share my screen here, and I'll bring it over to as actually a step in the product accelerator. And I think beyond Excel, when we develop applications for our customers, for our audience, I think the first step in my product accelerator is defining who is your customer. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that we make in Excel is not knowing our customer. And whether we're doing a job for a specific customer or whether we're creating products for many customers around the world, the first step you always want to take is to know your customer. And for example, if you're doing a job for one single customer, talk to that customer, find out who's going to be using this, what tools do they have, what platforms are they going to be on, what education level do they have, what experience do they have in Excel. So, or if you're doing it for a larger audience, around the globe, what country, what language, what formats, what machines, what experience, the same questions. So knowing who your customer is should always be the first step before anything you develop for any application. And then once we know who, then we can focus on the what. Are we going to be using third-party applications? Are we going to be using Excel? Are we going to be using what version of Excel? Is it going to be online? Will it have macros in it? So the who always comes before the what. And then, of course, the why. Sometimes if it's for a specific customer, the why will then come in. But if you're building an application for the market, we always want to understand why. So those are the three processes of defining our applications. And I think that's really important. And often we forget those, and we just start coding, and we just start designing, and we forget the foundation. The foundation is the who, what, and why of your application, always starting with who. And I think once we get those questions answered, the success rate of whether it's a single freelance job or whether it's a marketable application, the success rate skyrockets because we've done the foundation work. It's like building a building. You always want a really strong foundation, a very deep and a very strong foundation. Having answers to the who, what, and why will make sure that you've got success in your project. So that's my tip for today. Make sure defining your application.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll turn back on my camera so you can see me. Okay, so that's my tip.
All right. Thank you, Randy. So now let's do the news portion of the show. So Jordan, I know you have a lot of conferences and you have a lot of speaking coming up, and Randy, I want you to talk a little bit about the Excel Summit and what's happening there. So Jordan, I'll hand it over to you.
Awesome. So I really want to just what I want to show you is that there's two different things that I have coming up. Now, like you said, I have a lot going on this year, but I have two open enrollment courses. So that means anyone can join it. So not necessarily a private one. And they're both with awesome institutions. So the first one is with Stony Brook University. That's here in New York on Long Island. And you can see it's My Analytics with Excel. That's a 2-day course. It's happening here soon, March 26th and 27th. $795, but if you sign up right now, we have a 10% early bird discount. We're going to be doing 2 days of my Excel analytics, going through array formulas. Well, it will be updated. This actually was put out before all those new ones, but we'll be going through the new ones, talking about Excel tables. I showed Excel tables to another organization the other day, and there's still a lot that can be done with them. So a lot of people don't really know exactly what they are. They still think of them as advanced filters, but if you use them correctly, that they can actually serve as the backbone for a lot of these analytical products. In many ways, they're the backbone to Power BI and Power Query. And then in day 2, we're going to talk about data visualization, analytics, bring it all together. So this is my 2-day course. A lot of the material that you've seen me do over the years, but plus some new stuff that I really only save for in person. If you haven't seen this course before, I get a lot of great feedback from it. Now, in addition to that, for Wake Forest University, and this is going to be in June, and we'll have the links down either down below or on the blog post. We'll have the links for you so you can check it out. So in addition to my 2-day course, we're actually adding on 2 extra days now of Power BI. So first day is going to be Power BI fundamentals. And one of the things that I receive, compliments I've received, and this is really about how I think, if you know how to do a lot of this work in Excel, which is what day 1 and day 2 are about in my data visualization course, it so easily extends to Power BI. And that's because that the people who developed Power BI started, it started from people like me in Excel saying, wouldn't it be great if we could take these tables and do this or that. So all these technologies that started in Excel made their way to Power BI. A lot of people think that it's Power BI is really hard and we shouldn't pick it up. But if you take the first 2 days with me, you'll see that, oh my God, it transitions very easily. And so we'll be doing the fundamentals, and then after that, we're going to be doing we're going to be deep diving into DAX. So lots of really interesting stuff. This is coming up here in June. I love working with institutions like Wake Forest University and Stony Brook, because I think that we have the chance to really impact. We have the chance to really impact a lot of the information workers, a lot of the analysts right now who are doing this work. Who, the changes are happening so fast. Blink and you might miss it. It's like everything's changing. These updates are being pushed to Power BI and Excel monthly. So it's really a matter of staying ahead. And, obviously, I think online learning is a huge component, but being able to do it in class, in person, get your questions answered. I love doing it. The people who come and see me, I think I usually get really good feedback. I don't want to brag, but all of which is to say,
a little bit.
yeah, if you're out there and you're watching this and you wanted to meet me, and this is really your chance to learn, I would certainly love to meet you as well.
Great.
All right. So thank you for that. So Randy, I'll push it over to you for anything you want to share.
Great. Yeah, actually, well, first I would like to talk about of course, Global Excel Summit that's coming up. And we've got that coming up in April. So it's going to be really exciting. I'll be doing a keynote speech on finding your unique niche within Excel. And I think that's really important. We talked a lot about that today, and how to be you, find your passion, and find your thing that you can be great at inside Excel. Excel in itself is simply just too large for us to be great at everything. Mm-hmm. So picking your niche is really critical. And I think a lot of us are guilty of that. And I hope I can share some insights into that, how to be really great at Excel. That is going to be our keynote speech. And of course, I'm also going to be having a full day master class in Excel. In fact, I can share those. Let's share that screen with you. I can show you a little bit about it from the Global Excel Summit on that. And let's pull it out. I'm going to point it here. Okay. Now we can share it, so hopefully you can see this. And basically what we're going to be doing is finding a niche with Excel, and we cover that as a keynote, and then creating your wealth and success. So your wealth and success with Excel is going to be the masterclass, and I'm going to walk you through every step. It's going to be actually a 12-step program. We're going to walk you how to become successful with Excel, because a lot of us, we know Excel really well, and sometimes we're experts in our industry, but knowing something, being great at something, and having success with it can often be different. And like I've said many times, there's simply just too many poor experts. And my aim is to solve that. And hopefully this course is going to help do that. So we're going to go over, of course, defining who our customers is, as we mentioned before. And we're going to go over funnel techniques. We're going to go over sales techniques, finding a great lead magnet, what makes you special, find something unique that people will want, and then how to create different marketable products, something that can really make you an expert in the field, and how to generate sales and traffic and all those things that come with success. So I'm really excited to teach that in a 7-hour masterclass. So if you want to join that, you can go over to the Global Excel Summit and then just click on my name, and you'll find the masterclass down there, and you can buy tickets. There's a few left available, so it'd be great if you can get into that. I look forward to meeting everybody there. So it's going to be really great. I'm looking forward to that. All right. I'll screen share and then turn on my camera so you can see me now.
Thank you. It's one thing to learn the technical parts of anything, right? The technical parts of Excel or Python or whatever your technology of choice is, right? It's one thing to learn how to do it. It's another thing to learn strategically how to be successful, right? And that's what I think is really unique about what's going to happen here, because any of us can go 4 miles down the road, likely 10 miles down the road, and jump in the right class and figure out how to do a VLOOKUP or whatever else. It's another thing to figure out, how do you build a following, how do you build a business, how do you actually make things happen in your life. So that's what I really think is great about what's going to happen in London. I believe that's April 21st and 22nd.
Correct.
Okay. So Jordan will be there, Randy will be there, I'll be there, Chan will be there, Oz will be there, like almost everybody's going to be there.
Yeah, and we're media partners too. So we're gonna, we're gonna be there. We're gonna be there collecting people's stories.
We're interviewing people like Randy is. There'll be an awkward moment where I pull the phone up and say, "Hey, Randy, talk to me about what you just talked about." It'll be that kind of stuff. So it's gonna be good. There's a chance we might live stream from there. So we're still trying to figure that out with everybody who's there. But it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be great. And if you're around, if you're in that area, by all means, stop by. You're going to have the Excel leaders in the industry there, but they're not just going to be sharing Excel knowledge like every other conference. They're going to be sharing with you how do you actually write it, which is, to me, vastly more important, because you can go anywhere else and just figure out how to do a VLOOKUP. So anyways, Randy, I've seen you on social media. You're a frequent visitor of the Excel TV Facebook group, which I like. I watch all your videos. So it's good to see you. I'm looking forward to seeing you and meeting you and doing the awkward videos.
Thanks. Yeah, great. I'm looking forward to that too.
Yeah, pretty soon. And I can't wait to see you in London.
Great. Me too. Can't wait. Been great. Thanks so much, guys.
So until next time, I'm with Randy. And this is Jordan Goldmeyer, and we're reminding you to keep on excelling. We'll see you next time.